Hi, this is Steve. Welcome back to my channel, Scale Model Kit Review. In this video, I'm starting a brand new build, and that would be the Ford GT. Now, this comes from DeAgostini Collectibles. So if you haven't done so already, check them out. I put a link and a promo code down below in the description. Now, this is a very iconic car, and I'm super excited to get this. I am a big-time motorhead. I love motorsports, and I love racing. This car dates back to the mid-1960s, and it's very famous from the 1969 24 Hours at Le Mans. Now, you've probably already seen the movie Ford versus Ferrari. We're not going to get into that, but there's a lot of history to this car, so let's go ahead and check out that history right now. Born to win, the Ford GT is a true legend of motorsports. This two-seater with a mid-mounted V8 engine was created after a slap in the face. Enzo Ferrari's decision to break off negotiations with Ford to sell the iconic Italian brand Ferrari to the U.S. multinational. After Ferrari's rebuff, Henry Ford II, son of the U.S. firm's founder, vowed to create a car that would beat the Italians in the most prestigious endurance race of the time, the 24 Hours of Le Mans. The genesis of the GT. So the Ford GT was born. It was the mid-engine two-seater racing car developed in Great Britain with factory support. Roy Lunn, a British designer who had moved to Detroit in 1958 and designed the Mustang 1. The mid-engine concept car was one of the project leaders, Ray Geddes, a lawyer and team manager's skills, and Carroll Shelby, former driver and Ford partner on the Cobra project, joined the development team. The remaining team member was Ed Broadley, owner of a small arsenal British racing car firm, Lola. Broadley had developed a mid-engine vehicle, the Lola GT, which served as an inspiration for the Ford model. The GT was finally developed in Great Britain in Lola's workshops. The chassis, made of reinforced steel, was extremely rigid and was completed with a body that had been studied in the Detroit wind tunnel. It had a new 4.2-liter light alloy V8 engine built in the United States. At the 24 Hour Le Mans in 1969, the car had dominated the last three editions. Ford's GT40 coincided with the car that had reigned over those the following years, the Porsche 917. The Ford GT40 with chassis number 1075 was one of the most successful racing cars in history, equipped with a lightweight body, a 4.9-liter engine, and rebuilt from one of John Wyer's Team Ford chassis Mirage prototypes. It won races at Brands Hatch, Spa, Watkins Glen, and Sebring circuits. However, it will be most remembered for winning two consecutive editions of the 24 Hour of Le Mans. In 1968, it won with Belgian Lucien Bianchi and Mexican Pedro Rodriguez, and in 1969 with Jackie Ickx and Jackie Oliver. In this way, the 1075 equaled the feat achieved by the Bentley Speed 6 with chassis number LB2332, which won the 1929 and 1930 editions of the French race. At the Le Mans starts, the cars would line up in front of the pit wall, angle parked according to the order of practice times, and the drivers starting the test were located on the opposite side of the track. When the start flag was waved, the drivers had to run to their cars, start them up, and take off. Jackie Ickx had criticized these kind of starts. In his opinion, they carried too many risks since the pilot left out fastening their harness and without making sure to close their doors properly to save time. In 1969, Ickx, to publicize his protest, walked across the track and took his time to fasten his seatbelt before starting in last position. Sadly, John Wolf's fatal accident on the first lap with his seatbelt still loose proved Ickx right. From 1970, the start of the 24 Hour Le Mans became conventional, with cars lined up on the grid with their drivers already inside. After a complex development phase, the car debuted at the 1964 24 Hour Le Mans, albeit unsuccessfully, after a series of improvements that could not prevent the fresh defeat for the team in 1965. In 1966, the GT managed to win the classic French race for the first time. This victory was followed by three more. In 1967, with a spectacular long-bodied MK4 carrying the 7-liter engine, and in 1968 and 1969, again with the original body and a 4.9-liter engine. In 2004 and 2016, 2 generations of high-performance Ford vehicles were based on it. In 2016, the GT's current version returned to Le Mans, where it achieved victory in its category. Now let's look at details about this kit. This is an authentic competition prototype made of metal and injected plastic. The plastic model is a faithful reproduction of the Ford GT. It was one of the most successful prototypes in motor racing, with 4 spectacular victories between 1966 and 1969. In the most legendary race of them all, the 24-hour of Le Mans. Each installment gives you clear, accurate instructions containing step-by-step assembly photographs that will help you build your Ford GT model with spectacular success. The Ford GT is a static scale model with metal and die-cast bodywork. Headlamps and brake lamps light up, steering wheel with movement in the wheels, engine sound, doors and hood with opening and closing mechanisms, faithful, detailed reproduction of the original engine, all in 1/8 scale. Wow, there's a lot going on with that car with the history of motorsports. Anyway, this is a fantastic build. In this first issue, you'll receive the first 2 stages, stage 1 and stage 2. They're fantastic. I have them here laid out on my bench, and I'm super excited to get going on this. So head over to DeAgostini Collectibles and subscribe to this car today. I put a link and a promo code down below in the description. Please use the promo code. That will get you all set up for the subscription on this build. Also, I have created a Facebook page, and I'll put a link below. If you so choose, you can go ahead and join my Facebook page. So without further ado, let's get started. Welcome back. Let's look at everything that was contained within pack 1, and everything arrived in a very nice sturdy box from DeAgostini, and I did notice it was shipped from the US, so it arrived fairly quickly after it was ordered. Now the first thing that I noticed was a very nice picture here, which is very nice to be displayable here if you wanted, but it is actually a welcome letter and telling you what to do with your brand new subscription. So that's very cool there. And we also received the collection guide. Now the collection guide contains everything about the kit that you'll be building these next few months or so, and very colorful, very nice here. And as you can see, it gets into the history of the car that we just went over, and a nice fold out here in the middle giving all the features about the car. Realistic mechanics, steering wheel with movement, interior details, functional accessories, realism and detail, engine and carburetor. And if you look at here, it actually shows us the full size of the car, which measures 20 inches or 51 centimeters. The height about 5 inches, 12.8 centimeters, and the width 22.2 centimeters, 8.7 inches. And it's going to weigh about 17.6 pounds or 8 kilograms. So that's a lot of car right there. And another view here showing you how it looks after the engine compartment is opened up. So that's very cool there. And also some of the gifts that you'll receive with your subscription, those can change, so check those out on DeAgostini Collectibles. And like I said, I put a link in the description below to find out what you would actually receive with this subscription. The other thing, of course, are the magazines, and I've already read both of these magazines. Like I said, I'm a big motorsports fan. This build has me super excited, and I can't wait to get started on it. But with magazine 1 and then magazine 2, the magazines are very nice. They're not real thick, so they're a real quick read, which makes it nice, but they get into the birth of the myth, showing you the original GT, Ford GT that was built. And then it gets into a little bit about what's going on over there. Remember, we talked about the Ford versus Ferrari movie, and really that movie only touched a little bit about the whole story of this car and what was going on there. And very good article here about how the car was designed and how it came about. It's actually a British car, if you didn't know that already, with a Lola chassis. So it's pretty cool. And then they give a detailed instructions on what to do with your build. Very good breakdown, color pages, everything is highlighted, tells you what part is what, and then step-by-step instructions to follow. Let's look at the next magazine. So with the next magazine, once again, they continue on with the history of the car, the passion for speed, they call it here, and how Porsche built 25 units to compete during the 24-hour of Le Mans, and very famous scene in 1969, Jackie X, his protest, how he, and you saw that in history, how he walked to his car instead of ran to it just to say, hey, this is not safe the way you guys are starting these races. And then first we start off with the right front wheel, and I'm just so excited I can hardly talk here, but they give us all the very good layout of all the parts and what they're called. They actually give us a screwdriver to use also, and step-by-step instructions on the right along. So we have quite a few steps here going along for building the right front wheel, and they give us a little detail here on the right where it's located, and that's it. So let me get the parts out. Let's look at the build instructions for stage 1. For stage 1, we got the hood here and all the parts that are included with the hood. And just highlighting some of the pieces that will be stored away. We're not actually going to do anything with stage 1. These are parts you'll collect throughout the build, which is very typical of all these part work kits. And a view of the car. Let's look at the parts. Here's stage 1 parts pack. Very well protected here. Let me take these out, we'll get a closer look. And here's all the parts included. What stands out the most to me is the color of this car, the baby blue and of course the orange for the Gulf colors. But this is fantastic. Of course this is made of metal. And very glossy paint job there, very nice. Here's what the underside looks like. But this is very nice. It's not very heavy either. It's very nice. It's very thin. You can see. So, it's not as thick as some of the other ones that I built in the past. So this is very nice and impressive. And like I said, we'll be putting this away. We're not going to do anything with it on this stage. And of course, included are all the light bezels. So you have the 2 light bezels that go behind the body, like that, pretty much. And those are made of plastic. And of course, the headlights themselves, they'll slide right into the bezels, just like that. Those are made of plastic. And of course, the fog lights, they'll insert into the body also. So that's it. We're not going to do nothing with this stage. We're going to put these away in safekeeping. So let's go ahead and now look at stage 2. Real quick here, let's look at the build instructions for stage 2. So for stage 2, we'll be working on the right front wheel, and these are all the parts listed here. There's quite a few of them, and they're all listed. Getting on to the build here in step 1, looks like we install both outer and inner wheel halves together with the center spoked rim itself, and then we work on the brakes. And continuing with the brakes, install the caliper there. Now we're going to put the wheel onto the brake assembly and caliper, and screw that down onto the brake disc and caliper, and that will complete everything all the way up to We got like 10 steps involved here, and that's what it will look like. Let's look at the parts. Here's stage 2 parts pack. Everything is protected here, and it looks very nice. You can see we do have our screwdriver here, and everything is ready to go. So let me take these out and I'll be right back. Here's all the parts. Here's the center wheel with spokes painted orange. This is made of metal. The inner wheel, the outer wheel, the brake disc part, and that's 2 of them there, the caliper, the knockoff, and the brake cooling tube socket. The screws we received are FD02, FD01, and FP01. Now let me explain the screws here briefly. The FDs, meaning die cast, means these screws are designed to go into metal, and then the FP, meaning plastic, these screws are designed to go into plastic. Now, with my builds, I like to lubricate the screws that are going into metal, not the ones that are going into plastic. If you're having a hard time getting screws going into plastic, you can use some dishwashing soap in the raw form, right? Just the dishwashing soap liquid type. Use that, and that won't harm your plastic at all. But if you're screwing into metal, I prefer Vaseline, so I use Vaseline to screw all my screws into metal. Let's get started. Let's get started on step 1. We're going to take this part of the rim here, which is the narrow one. We're going to use that. We're going to turn that over, and we're going to take this spoked part of the rim. We're going to turn that over. We're just going to insert it into the slots here. Okay. And that's how that works there. That's how that looks. And we're going to put the larger part of the rim on top of that. Okay. And that's on there. That's good. We'll put that aside and we'll bring the brake over. Now with the brake assembly, this is the brake backing plate itself. We're going to take and insert our cooling socket, they call it, and it is notched, so it only goes in one way. You can see the notch there. So we're going to put that in, okay, and we're going to screw it down, hold it in place with a plastic screw, a screw that's made for plastic, and that's our FP01 screw. And you can see this is magnetized, which makes it helpful, and we'll screw that in. And like I was saying, if you're having problems getting these screws into plastic, you can use some liquid dishwashing soap for that. I would not use oil for this. Okay, there you go. That's in. Next, we'll bring over our disc, and that's simply just going to slot down right on top of that, just like that. And we're going to put our caliper on here next and turn this over so we can see where the caliper mounts to. And this is basically just gonna, you can see here on the caliper, it has one part is up higher than the other. That's because you have a raised area here and an alignment pin. So just like that. Put an FD01 screw into this, secure down this brake caliper. I didn't have to lubricate it, which is a good thing. That looks good. We'll turn this over, getting ready to put the wheel on. And before I put a screw into this, I'm going to go ahead and lubricate it with my Vaseline. And I'm going to put a lot on there and put some on the spindle. Now I'll bring over the wheel and we're going to insert that. Now before we insert, just show you here, there's a notch on the brake caliper. You can just see that right there, and there's a notch that sticks out inside the wheel there. We need to line that up with that. Perfect. Put an FD02 screw into this. This is chrome plated, has a flange on it. And that's good. And everything turns great on that. Held together. And lastly, we'll put our knockoff on. And it is magnetized, so it just stays right in place, just like that. That's all we do with stage 2. I think this is fantastic, very easy to build, and really looks nice. I'll be right back. And so, like I was saying, this is very lightweight in its alloy. Very impressive. How it compares to a 1/24 scale GT model. Right there you can see the difference in size. 1/24, 1/8. Fantastic. And there it is. That completes stages 1 and 2 for the DeAgostini Collections Ford GT. Now this is everything that you'll have in your possession after you receive pack 1 in the mail. So if you haven't done so already, check out DeAgostini Collections. I put a link and a promo code down below in the description, and subscribe to this today. That way you'll stay right on track and you'll be able to build along with me. And like I was saying earlier in the beginning of my video, I did create a Facebook group page, so I'll put a link down below. If you so choose, you can go ahead and join in on that and join in on the fun, the discussion of this car, and some of the tips and techniques to building this and even modifying. There might be some mods that will be available in the future for this. I don't know, but hopefully that will happen. Anyway, happy modeling everybody, and take care.